Welcome to The Real Review, sponsored by Parametric and Lazy Ape Studios, where you get some of the latest happenings, real thoughts, and perspectives in the world of film and television. Everybody, my name is Matt Hay.
And I am Joel Cunningham.
And Joel Cunningham here with me.
This is our drumroll.
This is our drumroll special episode.
Yeah.
Where we only do it once a year.
Yep.
And basically, it is our best of 2017 episode.
That's what we do. We
Yes.
crunch the numbers, we list out all the films, and then we get our best and worst of the year.
And you would maybe think that I'm kidding when I say, "Hey, we crunch the numbers, put it all on a spreadsheet," and that's not kidding. I actually put it all on a spreadsheet.
Yeah. I list out all of the films that I've seen, and then I go through and I move them around. The funny thing about this list, and I'm just put a disclaimer here at the very beginning, obviously.
Disclaimer.
This is my list.
Yeah.
So you're not, obviously everybody's not going to agree with how everything
Hey, you know
ranked.
what, guys? All film is subjective.
Yes.
This is our top 10 list, and it's subject to change.
Yes.
So-
And one of the additional aspects of that is that I tend to separate what I actually qualify as a quality film versus my experiences with that film. I mean, for a perfect example, Schindler's List, right?
Yeah.
Amazing movie, very effective,
Yeah.
but not my favorite film. Very hard film to watch.
Yeah.
Don't enjoy generally watching it all that much.
Right.
Good film, glad it was made,
Yeah.
important to watch.
Yep.
But I'm putting here on my list the best and the worst for me.
Yep.
So my
Exactly.
emotional experiences doesn't necessarily tie into the rating.
I have a couple of those as well. and
Disclaimer done.
My disclaimer, same type of
Yes.
thing. I've always been the more emotional one. If I've been more emotionally affected by a film than another film that maybe is like getting perfect reviews all the way around, I'm going to rate the one that I felt more emotionally effective on higher, just because it relates to me, and that's totally fine. All film is subjective, guys. You like what you like, we like what we like, and we're all a happy family. It's all good.
And I would say whatever.
And exactly. Hey, also, and this we might have to address this later on too, because there's still 3 or 4 like solid movies that I haven't seen that could potentially crack the top 10. And if it does and it changes, I will let you all know.
Fair enough.
Yep.
My opinion, this is interesting you say that. We don't have to get too far into this. I'm an objective guy. I think a film can be objectively good or bad. At the same time, my personal experience with it is subjective.
Right.
And that's what you're saying.
Film in general, like
Right.
a general sense. It's going to have elements that people
an
will
entertainment.
agree. Right. People are going to agree to an
Right.
extent, but it could potentially have deeper ramifications for another person than it would you.
Agreed.
Exactly.
So there you go.
There we go. Let's start with our 10. You ready?
Do we want to do a couple honorable drumroll mentions?
Yeah, let's do a couple honorable, just real quick. Since
Yes.
you don't even have to like go into it. Just what are some of your
Totally
honorable
fine. So a
mentions?
couple honorable mentions here that I thought were important to just kind of mention again. Despicable Me 3 was close.
Okay, cool.
Kind of getting
Cool,
on there.
cool.
I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to, especially for a third movie in the franchise.
I dig.
Another one, Gifted.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
a really good film. It's about, a guy and his daughter, kind of sort of daughter.
That
the
girl was in I,
situation.
Tonya too, by the way, that girl.
Yes. Yeah, I didn't know that. But enjoyable experience for the most part.
Cool.
Kind of interesting, fun, quirky kind of drama type thing. I had some good stuff in there. John Wick 2.
Yeah.
Like that. It just
Yeah.
wasn't quite as good for me as the first one we talked
Sure.
about in the review.
Yeah.
And then Wonder Woman and
Yeah.
Dunkirk. Both
Oh,
were just
honorable
really,
mentions. Yeah, okay.
those were just almost
Cool.
there. They just didn't quite
It's
make
okay.
it.
I'm
Yeah.
actually have a couple of those same ones on my list.
You might
Wick,
have them.
yeah, John Wick 2, really liked. Didn't quite make it, but I thought it was fun. Wonder and Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
So both of those movies.
Wonderful.
The emotional side of Wonder got me like super hard, and then that didn't sound right. So that totally hit me in the feels in a like crazy way. Like I was like crying. Anyways, Wonder Woman, super fun, great movie. I enjoyed it. Split is the other one that was an honorable mention for me. Didn't quite crack the top 10 for me, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that didn't quite crack my honorable. I think it was okay. I didn't like the ending of that one, but
Yeah. It's
long
all
story.
good. It is all good. So let's do 10. Do you want to start it or do you want me to start it?
I can start. Do you want me
Do
to
it.
start?
Yeah, what's your 10?
All right, so number 10, the Lego movie, the Lego Batman movie.
Hey.
Specifically. I don't know why. I talked about this when we did a review. I always go into these Lego movies, and I know they just did one, I think the Japanese, the Kung Fu
Ninjago.
one, Ninjago. I didn't see that one.
Yeah.
But the first two, both of them I went into thinking, I am not going to enjoy this at all. This is going to be really bad. And ended up really laughing, really
Yeah.
enjoying both of them. They're just kind of simple, feel-good, funny movies.
Right.
You can kind of turn your brain off in a sense, but they still catch you off guard at times. They still make you laugh. I didn't like this one quite as much as the first one because
Right.
the first one it did an interesting thing where it kind of put it in like a real world.
Yeah.
And this one had elements of that at play,
Sure.
but it didn't really place it in that, so it didn't have the same weight, the weightiness to it. But the humor was funny. The voice acting was perfect. I think they had great talent that they kind of put in there with everybody. Will Arnett as Batman.
Love Will Arnett as
and Zach
Batman.
Galifianakis as the Joker. I thought they played a dynamic duo there. And overall, very fun experience. So
That's awesome.
That's my number 10.
I have my number 10 is probably not in your list, but it is Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, not mine.
Yep, I enjoyed it. Okay, so here's the thing with Thor Ragnarok. We talked about this in the review. That's why we're going to be super short and brief on these. But Thor was not cool to me. I did not care for Thor as much. I thought his movies were just okay for the most part. This one made him cool to me. Like I was like, by the end of the movie, I was like, dang, Thor, like I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I thought it was hilarious. Taika Waititi directed it, made me go back and watch another movie that I really enjoyed that he did.
Which I want to check out. I've heard good things about.
Yes. And Thor Ragnarok, I just thought it was a fun time all the way around. I had a lot of fun with it. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Nice. Well, then I will go to my number 9.
Dude, number 9.
This one is probably on your list somewhere, so I don't want to spoil it for you talking about it, but Wind River.
Yeah.
Number 9. This one hit me. It was like a punch in the gut in a lot of ways. It had this beautiful simplicity and kind of like somberness to it that was mixed with just super harsh moments of violence and just very like showing kind of the depravity.
Oh, so intense.
Both the depravity, but also the good side of humanity. And so it was super intense.
Yeah.
Very good job. I think my celebrity crush, if you will, right now is totally Elizabeth Olsen, which is surprising me. I didn't realize she was one of the Olsen twin sisters.
Right.
But I think she's in a lot of stuff right now. I think she can do an amazing job. She's actually in another film on my top 10 list that we're going to be talking about in just a little bit while. But probably best Jeremy Renner role I've seen in a long time.
Cool.
And I don't want to say too much about it because I think you might have some things to share about it. I think the only thing that kept this one from being higher on my list was the cinematography was good, but it wasn't like groundbreaking. It didn't do anything like, there wasn't moments where the cinematography was just like, wow. Yeah. Like if they had worked a little bit different on that and done a little bit more with that, I think I would have ranked it a little bit higher. So there you go.
Cool. Awesome. Well, my number 9 is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Volume 2. We talked about this. We both loved it when we reviewed it. I had mentioned, and I know a lot of people are kind of contrary to the thinking on this, but I liked it better than the first one.
Yep.
I thought it was really funny, overreached a couple of times, but for the most part, I really loved all the character interactions. It was hilarious. I like where it went and where it leads us for potential stuff in the future, especially knowing with what's coming out with Infinity War.
Yeah, now that you've seen the trailer,
right?
You know that they meet up with Captain, with Thor.
Thor. Yeah, and anyways, it was just a lot of fun. The Baby Groot intro might be one of the best intros I've seen in a movie in a really long time.
It was a lot of fun.
And it was just a really fun movie. I think James Gunn wrapping it up by doing the third one is a great choice.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for the prospect of that coming down the road here.
Very cool. Awesome.
Boom.
Well, then I will do my number 8. My number 8 is a little film called Get Out.
Hey.
This was the directorial debut of Jordan Peele, and didn't go into this necessarily expecting all that much.
Yep.
I was getting a ton of critical buzz. And as you know, I'm not a huge fan of the horror
we talked about that
genre. Yeah, I can deal with horror, but the suspense I'm not.
Sure.
But this one was effective, I think, because although there were some jump scares, there were some things kind of popping up and going, it was much more about the idea of it, the disturbing nature of humans and what they're going to do to one another. And obviously there's, race relation significance in there, but I think much more it tells a story about the depravity of humanity trying to like take advantage of other people that
for sure.
like the haves and the have-nots and stuff like that. So I just thought it was interesting. I thought it was very compelling. I thought it told a suspenseful, interesting story that kind of had me on the edge of my seat the entire time, wondering like, what is about to go down? And when you finally get there, it was very rewarding. I think that ending was a little bit rough for me. It felt like it switched into just a flat-out horror genre at the end, and it felt a little bit like it copped out. It was kind of like you've had all this intrigue and interest and kind of suspense, and now you're just going to go straight with the whole, like, just everybody gets killed sort of a thing, and that, spoilers, but,
No, I gotcha.
That did away with me. But overall, still really had a good experience with it, really came out of it liking it, and excited to see what Jordan Peele does next.
I know. He's got a couple projects. I think he's...
I'm guessing it'll be probably something more drama.
I think he's got some stuff. He's got something serious lined up, but he's also got some running stuff happening with Blumhouse too, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of cool, actually.
Gotcha. I mean, who knows? Maybe he'll do a horror kind of thing, but most of the time it's great for a director to get into horror in the first step because you can accomplish a lot with a little.
Yeah, for sure.
So excited to see where he goes, though.
Yeah, I am excited for that as well. Good call. So this number 8 for me is going to be pretty divisive, and I know it is for you.
Yeah.
But for me, it's going to be Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Oh my goodness!
I know. I really like this movie, and so what's really funny about this movie
my thoughts to myself.
is nobody really felt mad about this movie. A lot of people either hated this movie or really liked it. And not to say that there aren't meh people, but I feel like there's a lot of really extremes. I really liked it. I didn't love it, but I really, really liked it, and it was enough to crack my top 10 because I saw it again a second time. I loved it even more the second time. It gave me all the chills in the right spots. Even some of my favorite, two scenes in particular, my two favorite cinematic scenes probably I've seen in the last couple of years in any movie. I was like, oh my gosh. Anyways, yes, I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great continuation. I'm excited for episode 9. And we can debate about it later on.
Porg
Joel.
Lover, yeah. You are a porg lover.
I don't care about the porgs. I do love the crystal foxes. Those are sweet.
Those are cool.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it. That's my number 8.
Yeah.
So what you got for 7, yo?
My number 7 is a little film called Logan.
Hey.
This one was directed by James Mangold, and it marks the final outing, I believe.
Yeah.
If everything plays out the way it's being portrayed as, that Hugh Jackman will be in the role of Logan from the X-Men.
Even with Disney's acquisition, he said he's still not.
Yeah, I mean, I know they tried to talk him into it, I think, a little bit. But overall, super interesting, very impactful film.
Yeah.
I think as a final outing for him, just a beautiful film.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, almost not really a swan song, but just almost like a meaningful, impactful, like mantle shifting like film of, it's almost like because he started off the whole superhero film revolution.
Right.
I mean, he was like the most famous character from the most famous superhero besides maybe like Superman.
Yeah.
But like when X-Men came out and he was Wolverine, everybody loved him.
Yeah.
And it started this whole genre. And he's embraced that role. And yeah, he's been through some rocky stuff with the standalones. But to have this one, which was so like dramatic and emotional and tells the story not just of like a superhero dealing with like their powers going out or going crazy, but just a human getting to an age where their abilities are not what they once were, and passing that along to like a younger generation, and just really interesting, and some really sad moments and really touching moments, and just really, really good. I mean, it was a heartfelt connection there, and I ended up loving it a lot more. And the action. Man, the action in this movie, just the scenes with him fighting and chopping people up. I mean, they were some of the best, most realistic portrayals. I mean, the one where he's going into the hotel. And,
slow-mo,
slow-mo in the resort, and he like can't, but he's like, kill me. Just some really good stuff there. So
for sure.
Might be in your top 10, but
that's awesome.
That's my number 7.
Okay, my number 7, I'm breaking the rules a little bit here, guys, but that's okay. I just recently saw the movie, and this reason why I say I'm breaking the rules is because this movie came out in 2016, technically.
Yeah.
But I really, really like this movie, and this goes back to Thor Ragnarok. It's Hunt for the Wilderpeople. This is a Taika Waititi film, takes place in New Zealand, stars Sam Neill, and this little kid, I can't remember his name, but...
Tom.
Tom. No, his name is actually... I can't pronounce his name. Theodore or something. And it's Theodore. And I love this movie because it's quirky in like the best kind of quirky like ness that I can't even describe. And it's got Taika Waititi does his like traditional like M. Night Shyamalan where he cameos in some way. And it's hilarious. It's really, really funny. It's in my opinion, Sam Neill's best performance since maybe like Jurassic Park.
Wow.
It's really good. Sam Neill's really good. It's really funny, but it's also really kind of dramatic and touching at times, especially kind of how it comes full circle at the end. I don't know. I watched it and I was like, man, this movie is really, really good. And it affected me emotionally. I was able to relate on a level. I love the characters. I was emotionally invested in them. And so, yeah, 7 for me is Hunt for the Wilderpeople.
That's awesome.
I recommend it.
I'm not surprised. You really like the humor in Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't surprise me that you would like the Taika Waititi outing where it's pretty much just that humor.
Yeah.
So totally makes sense.
So funny.
Cool. Then my number 6, a shocking one for some. It. Yes. Directed by Andy Muschietti. Stars Pennywise, Bill Skarsgård. It's got a bunch of kids in it.
Kiddos.
Finn from Stranger Things.
Finn Wolfhard.
Yep. Yeah. Overall, you know me, we talked about it, but it was such a surprise to have such a good experience with this film.
Yeah.
And there were some elements that I didn't like. I mean, overall with the story progression and the pointless jump scares at times, that I felt like they were literally just putting in there to just make you, what?
Yeah.
But the film itself was very effective and it stuck with me,
yeah.
And it wasn't like it stuck with me that like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die any second now. But like when you've had an experience when you walk out of the film and you're just like processing like the good, crazy elements of it and you're like emotional, like, oh my gosh, remember that moment? And you're like talking with everybody. And there was 2 or 3 scenes, the scene in the garage and stuff where it was like, just visually like stuck with me, and the scene in like the basement where he's like freaking out and stuff like that. And I think it's just a film for me that's just I'm gonna remember. It's gonna be in my head for the next long while. I'm really excited to see what they do with the sequel. I thought the acting with all the kids was amazing.
Oh yeah,
it's so difficult when you get a cast of kids together to get realistic portrayals of these emotions and these feelings and get different things. So there was just levels and layers with that, and every kid for the most part had their own little mini kind of journey that they went on. I wish it had been a little deeper. So but overall, great film. Number 5. Yeah, there you go.
No, that's awesome. So for me, number 6 is Get Out, actually. So same on your list. You already talked about a lot of the same stuff I talked about, but on the flip side, I am a bigger fan of the horror genre, and I think we did talk about this. It's not really a horror movie. It's more thriller, psychological, and it's just really, really well done. Jordan Peele, again, his outing as a director, I think this is just a great film, and actually a long line of actually pretty solid horror thriller films that have come out this year. Get Out was just really, really well done, and shines a light on a lot of really, really important issues. The racism aspect of it, and also the passive racism that a lot of people just kind of tend to overlook that needs to be addressed. It talks about that. It also goes into the acting as well. Just so good. And there's a lot of like little things I didn't see coming that I was like, oh, like it actually surprised me a lot. I really, really enjoyed it. But yeah, Get Out. That's my number 6.
There you go.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think that I didn't mention that, but that psychological thriller aspect, I really do enjoy that.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
It's awesome. It's like one of my favorite genres for sure. So
there you go.
We're on to 5 now, right?
Yeah, halfway there.
Do it.
Number 5 is a film called Ingrid Goes West.
Hey-o.
Directed by Matt Spicer, stars Audrey Plaza, Elizabeth Olsen, O'Shea Jackson Jr., Wyatt Russell, Billy Bungnesson. Overall, I had no expectations going to this film. I had heard about it. I heard it was kind of quirky and fun.
Yeah.
And I thought Audrey Plaza looked amazing in it. Like just the way that she was portraying this kind of like mentally deranged type person. But I didn't really know what kind of film it was. I didn't really know what genre or tone it was. And its genre is considered comedy, but it's really, really much more of a satire.
Than that? Okay.
Yeah. Again, it has, Elizabeth Olsen, who I think is amazing. But she's done some really good roles. She's done some bad ones, but this role for her is perfect. I mean, she plays this kind of like, oh my gosh, like Valley Girl, but a girl that's almost pretending to be Valley Girl in order to be successful, like to be an Instagram star. Yeah. Audrey Plaza plays such an amazing, like slightly over the line, like crossing the boundary of what's acceptable, kind of mentally deranged, stalker-esque person. And the comedy in this, some of the moments are just so awkwardly funny and hilarious. And it's such a interesting, and in a way, not too deep, but a thought-provoking satire of our socially, connected world right now, and the world that we have that's around us. And not everybody's going to agree with this. I think not everybody's going to get it. Yeah. I'm a huge fan of satire. I wrote a satire book. Yep. I do a lot of satire writing and stuff. So I just really like it and I really enjoy it. And so for me, just a really, really good experience coming out of it.
Sweet.
One that I would probably rewatch a couple times.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That's awesome.
There you go. Number 5.
Number 5 for me is Dunkirk. And so I know you had kind of mentioned it earlier in the honorable mentions, I believe.
Yeah.
I really, really like this film, and I did see it in IMAX, which I always recommend everybody see, especially when it comes to Christopher Nolan stuff.
Yes,
but this movie to me, I think was, yes, it was shorter than like a typical film that he's done, but I thought it was really effective in the amount of time that he had with it and the characters and portraying the direness of the situation of these people, of these soldiers, and there's a couple times where I was literally like, I felt like I was holding on to holding my breath at times. I was like, oh, I was invested.
Yeah.
It was really, really well done. Right from the get-go, when you hear the first gunshot, I was like, like
They
jarring.
need to mix that lower in the sound mix, I think, though.
Man,
that
it
was
was
super loud.
But I think they did it purposefully. That
I
way.
know.
But it was, it was great. Really, really impactful. I felt emotional during it. I felt, kind of joyous at the end, and I felt a whole range of emotions. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought Christopher Nolan knocked it out of the park with that one.
Yeah.
And
Hasn't had a flop yet, that Christopher Nolan. Be interesting to see what he does next.
Yeah, I really, really like most stuff he does, but this one I thought was really, really something special. It's good stuff.
Very cool. So then, number 4.
Yep.
A film called The Disaster Artist.
Hey.
Directed by James Franco, starring James Franco. A bunch of his friends.
You're tearing me apart, Lisa.
You're tearing me apart, Lisa. So this one for me, again, I know this one's probably not going to be for everybody, but I really, really, really enjoyed it.
Cool.
I had such a fun experience, and it was just, I think it was part of the build-up too, because I went and saw The Room right beforehand and had the fun experience with that. And then going and seeing this is kind of like a follow-up, was just beautifully put together and situated for me. And there's just so much simple humor to this film. I mean, the goofiness and the silliness of James Franco playing Tommy Wiseau and Wiseau, and the way that he's acting, and the awkward interactions that you're getting between people, and just how hilarious that is. But at the same time, it also tells a heartwarming-ish type story, like an American Dream-ish type story that is really connectable and relatable. It makes you feel like you can be a loser and potentially find a level of success as well in America. That awesome. There's opportunities out there for everybody. So I really ended up enjoying it, and I really do feel like, we'll see. I do think James Franco deserves to be at least nominated for this role. I know it sounds crazy to a lot of people because he's playing a really weird character in it, and it's a comedy. But overall, I think he deserves it, and directed really well by James Franco. Awesome. He's done a couple other movies in the past that have been okay, but he hasn't. This is kind of his first one that I've really watched that I've been like, yeah, that's a good one, James Franco. Great job.
Cool.
So there you go. And hilarious.
Awesome.
If you want a funny movie and you haven't seen The Room, watch The Room first, then watch this.
That's awesome.
And it's amazing.
Yeah, that's one of the ones that I haven't had a chance to see yet that could potentially make this list depending on how I go about
potential.
You see what happens with that. Anyways, for me, or number 4, right?
Yes.
Number 4 for me is It. So we did get a chance to talk about this is my favorite horror movie this year.
Yeah.
So dang good. And again it was more and this is how I explain it to everybody. It is scary and it is horrific at times, but it felt more like hanging out with kids in Stranger Things trying to basically figure out how to win the day. Yeah. And I really, really liked it. It's super fun. It's hilarious. New Kids on the Block. What? And then also it was terrifying when it needed to be terrifying. And I thought, like you mentioned earlier, the garage scene. What? Oh, wow. You know, like
that's still in my head. What? When I look at think about that in my head, I'm like, yeah.
It was just such a good movie. Acted all the way around brilliantly. The Skarsgård dude who played Pennywise. Yeah. So great.
Amazing.
I didn't like him in Hemlock Grove at all, but I thought he was fantastic in this. So just such a good movie. And
I heard they're releasing a director's cut too that's going to have some extra
I heard that
footage.
too. So I'm excited about that. That comes out next week.
Does it?
Yeah, it comes out on Tuesday.
That's great.
Yeah, anyways. So I'm excited about that. Probably will be picking that one up. But yeah, that's my number 4.
Very good. All right, then moving into our big top 3.
Do it.
Like
top
the big
3.
ones. And I will say, in this general area, it blends a little bit.
It's harder for you to narrow it down.
Yeah. There's fewer distinct, strong differences. It's not like there was one. There might be one or two things that kind of, but it's at this point it's much more emotional.
I guarantee that we're gonna have at least one of the same.
Probably
just one though.
Yeah. So the first one, number 3, Baby Driver.
Heyo.
Directed by Edgar Wright. I'm a big Edgar Wright fan.
Yeah.
I didn't like and what is it? Not to the end of the world or whatever it was. Edge of the world or whatever. Edge of the world.
The World's End.
The World's End. There you go. I didn't like that one. I thought the Carmelo trilogy was great, those first two, but then this one, that one. But then he did Scott Pilgrim vs. World.
Yeah.
Loved that one. And this one is just another return to form for me. And he did some stuff with this one that was just so interesting and fun. And I read up on this later. I mean, they edited the movie on set to the music track, to the music soundtrack. And you can feel that with the film. I mean, awesome. It just feels like it's almost like a deeper version of a music video.
Yeah.
And it sounds really simple and cheap, but it's just so good. It's so interesting and it's compelling. The characters are great. I know Kevin Spacey, obviously, right now
is having some issues.
And I'm not going to talk about that. It is funny that he's playing like a more like bad role in this film. But overall, just really enjoyed it. I love Lily James. I think she's a great actress as well. If not for Elizabeth Olsen, she might be sort of up there as like my current celebrity crush. But a fun movie, really good action, really good. And everything was constantly kind of keeping me guessing and having fun with it. And I love that about Edgar Wright films. I can just go and just have the fun.
Yeah.
And enjoy the craziness of the films.
Yeah.
So, that's my number
awesome.
3. Yep.
My number 3 is Wind River, which we've already had a chance to talk about, but this movie blew me away. I was deeply affected by this movie, and like you said, the somber tone that it gives, but also just kind of, and I agree, this is Jeremy Renner's absolutely his best performance I've ever seen him give. Super subtle, but very, very emotional. And it has to do, with people's children too. A lot of that hit me in a way that was like close to home. And I was just like, man, it was just really, really well done. And then when it comes to like some of the violence aspects of it, wow, some of the most visceral, like intense, violent stuff that I've seen in a movie in a really long time.
For sure.
And
shotgun.
Just oh my gosh. Yes, it was just super intense, but also the way that it ended was extremely cathartic to me. I was like, oh, this feels so good. I'm glad it's ending this way. And I was
great
like,
ending.
Yeah. And
I mean, to an otherwise sad thing.
Yeah, exactly. But I was like, oh, this is perfect. I really love The Wind River. It's one of my favorites. When I saw it, I was like, this is an incredible movie.
Yeah.
I liked it better than Hell or High Water, which is another Sheridan film from last year.
Yeah.
And I thought this one was better. Top that. And I like that.
I'm really surprised it hasn't gotten more nominations for things, more award nods.
Yeah, I know. We'll have to see what happens when Oscars roll around. But that's my number 3.
Cool. My number 2, this was one you already brought up, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, directed by James Gunn. I just had such a good time with this movie.
It was. Yeah,
I mean, there was so many. I mean, there's been a lot of superhero movies at this point, but this movie was so imaginative and so different, and there was just so many scenes that just kind of caught me off guard and having me, like, even just thinking about them. And they just put it on Netflix, and I went back and I rewatched it just to be like, did I like this as much as and I did, you know? I mean, they did some different things with this one. Dave Bautista's role is a lot more comedic and kind of bigger in this one. Chris Pratt kind of took a more of a backseat type role in this one, but I felt like it was a needed turn for him. It added a lot of depth. It added a lot of depth to the characters, and I thought there was just really imaginative. Yeah. It was really fun, and a lot of the action was just different. And as much as it's like a superhero Marvel movie, it doesn't feel like one. It just feels like an over-the-top space action adventure. Sci-fi, crazy quirkiness with a really good soundtrack.
Yeah, for sure.
And the humor's always there. I just really like this movie. It had one of probably the best quotable lines of the year. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
it just had a lot of really good things to it. And it was touching at times with, the passing of certain characters and the way that it portrayed different things. And I think one of the reasons that it connected to me as well is just, with my dad. It connected me back to the story of fatherliness and so it's not going to be relatable to everybody, but for me it was. And Joe, overall, just really, really liked it. And I loved all the stuff they did around. I love the music video that they released, the James Gunn music video with his brother.
Super quirky. And funny,
super quirky and stuff like that. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The feel and everything gives. So excited for Guardians 3.
Yeah, me too. That's
number
awesome.
2, So what is your
number 2 for me is Baby Driver, and this is the one that we had the same in the top 3.
He's a baby, but he's a driver.
This movie was. It was a big surprise for me. I honestly did not expect a lot from it. I thought it looked kind of good from the previews, and I wanted to go see it, and ended up seeing it, and wow, I ended up really, really enjoying it. And you can look at Edgar Wright's previous work and kind of be like, there's not really a sense of reality to it, or this one I actually felt like had a sense of reality to it. One of the first ones in a while that he's did. Like, I mean, you look at like Shaun of the Dead. I mean, it's zombies. You look at, you know what I'm talking about, right?
So,
this one, incredible cinematography. The music going along with it brought you along with it.
Yep.
The action was really incredible. All the actors, John Bernthal's in it.
I know.
And, just for a little bit, but he's awesome in it.
I wanted more John Bernthal.
Exactly.
That was the sad thing.
Jamie Foxx, Kevin Spacey. Then you have obviously Ansel Elgort, right?
Yeah.
Lily James. But John Hamm even was really good.
Mm-hmm.
So this movie did something too.
He played a great kid.
Yeah, this movie did something too where it
His turn
completely
is amazing.
subverted my expectations at the end by throwing in a twist in who the ultimate like villain ended up being.
Right.
I was like, whoa, and I was actually genuinely surprised with some of the people that didn't make it. And I was like, wow, that was really surprising. And I totally on board with that.
Yeah.
I initially wasn't as on board with how it ended at the very end.
Yeah.
But after thinking about it a little bit, I was kind of like, okay, I get that.
Yeah.
But I really, really had a lot of fun with it. It's enjoyable. Baby, played by Ansel at the very, I liked him. He was a very likable character.
Yeah.
And is kind of like he had his superpower was, being an awesome wheelman.
Right. I think the reason I relate to what you're saying with the ending there. I don't want to interrupt you, but
good.
it's like it was like he was on an odyssey.
Yeah.
It was almost like a superhero odyssey story.
Exactly.
But then the end becomes very real.
Yeah.
And very right. And it's like grounded all of a sudden and it's jarring.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. But it does fit.
Yeah.
And the more I thought about it too, it was okay.
So that was my number 2, Baby Driver.
All right.
Number one, Joe. What is it?
This one is shocking. The reason that it's number 1 is because honestly, it just has to be.
Okay.
But at the same time, it's going to be surprising, I think, for some people because it's not as maybe as popular for some reason. But the
Jumanji.
number 1 Coco.
Coco.
Yeah, by Pixar. I had no expectations going to this film. I literally thought, okay, it's something Dia de los Muertos flavored. It's Pixar, so it's probably going to be a bit emotional. But I didn't realize sort of how enjoyable this film was going to be. And I think it didn't really hit home until my second viewing. So I went up to spend some time with my mom for her birthday. My sister was there. And we wanted to go watch a movie, and it was between this and another movie. And I was like, I really think we should go. I really think you guys are going to like Coco. And usually my sister and I, my mom, we can feel similarly, but for different reasons.
Right.
And we can feel divisive or like we're going to see different sides. This was a movie where we all got done with, and every single one of us were just like, that was a really good movie.
That's awesome.
We all love the same elements. The humor is there. It doesn't feel silly. It is an animated film.
Right.
And I think maybe that's why some people are going to be like, wow, you're going with like a Pixar kids animated film as like your number 1 for the year. But it really just is a good viewing experience. I mean, it's just really entertaining. It's really simple. There was moments where we talked about I was tearing up.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm
What
like
is this water in my eyes?
Exactly. What is happening here? So I can't find anything to really, there was elements
awesome.
I think could have been a little bit better, but they weren't bad, you know? So that's my
awesome.
number 1.
That's really
Coco,
cool.
Yeah.
See, I haven't seen it yet. And I feel like that could have the possibility of cracking my top 10 too. Once I get
it's
a
just
chance to
weird
check it
to me that it didn't. Maybe it's hitting bigger than I'm realizing, but it doesn't seem like it's gotten quite the press and the coverage and the intensity and the knowledge of it being out there as much as.
Right.
But it really was just a great movie.
Yeah. That's awesome. I have to check it out. So my number 1. Mm-hmm. And this is also my highest rated film of the year because all my previous films don't necessarily coincide with the rating.
Yeah.
It's just kind of how I felt about them more so. But Logan is my first favorite film.
Gotcha.
Loved almost every single thing about this. My only thing was I didn't think the villain was as strong as it could have been, but everything else I loved. I didn't really think it was weak in many areas.
Yeah.
As Hugh Jackman, just a magnificent actor in a lot of things that he does. This is a perfect movie for him to end on if it is in fact his final film. Mm-hmm. I liked what they're doing by setting it up with X-23 with the girl. I thought their relationship was great. Acting across the board was incredible. Very somber, definitely, but it does take place in the future, really long ways from now, and it does. You can still do stuff before that stuff happens. I don't know. Anyways, I just really, really enjoyed it. And viscerally, some of the most insane stuff that I've seen with Wolverine, because it was an R-rated film. It was definitely a departure from what they've normally done with Fox. And I think it benefited because of it. Mm-hmm. It showed the brutality and kind of how it affected him, but also all the people that he was fighting against. Yeah. And it was just a really, really incredible film to me. And I went back and started watching it again the other day. I couldn't finish it because my youngest woke up. But anyways,
it's hard for a reason,
right? So I was like, we can't watch it now. But really, really enjoyed it. It makes me sad thinking about that I won't see Hugh Jackman again as Wolverine potentially.
He's a mainstay. Well, he was.
Yeah. And but yeah, that's mine, Logan.
There you go.
Yep.
I agree with all you said. I think it was R, like I said, for a reason, but it wasn't like we were just going for R for just the sake of it. It's like it needed to be.
Yeah. Yep.
It wouldn't have been the same film without it.
It was good stuff, man. But that wraps it up. That's our top 10 list.
It wraps it up.
Yeah, we might do a part 2 at some point in time as far as the top 10 is concerned, because
you gotta make some changes maybe.
I gotta catch some stuff.
Mine will probably stay pretty much the same. Okay. But I don't know. There's a couple films I haven't seen yet. But
I'll keep you guys updated on that. But again, connect with us. Let us know what you thought. If any of these are in your top 10, email us realreviewmedia@gmail.com. Go to our website, realreviewmedia.com, and connect with us at all of our social media platforms, YouTubes, all that fun stuff, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Do that there. But Joel, anything else?
Stay tuned for part 2.
Part 2.
We tell you about the films we didn't like for 2017. The worst. We saved the best for last for the worst for last.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Well, that'll be coming at you soon. But for now, other than that, guys, it's been real.
It's been real.